The Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones starts now.
And coming to us live from somewhere in Manitoba is Sheldon Jones. Is that, what's that saying, that painting, Heart Lake?
That says Heart Lake, but we are not at Heart Lake. We are at Nudimic Lake in Manitoba. It is, it's about 35 kilometers from the Ontario border near the Seven Sisters Lakes. I think it's the White Shell, I believe. I don't know. Who knows? But that's where I am. And lots of Precambrian rocks here I've found in the heart of the Canadian Shield.
Oh, I was going to say, are you like some sort of like geologist?
No, but my brother-in-law
really
took a lot of courses in that and stuff. Yeah, so he was having fun being like a little tour guide, seeing what.
Oh, so he's teaching you about the rocks.
A little bit.
Tell me about what's the bug report in Manitoba?
Wasps are lowish. I've seen a couple. Flies are high. There was a high chance that there's
are there horse flies
flying around. No, just house flies. I haven't seen any horse flies yet.
Okay.
It hasn't been too bad. I had a terrible night the other night where I just had a rough medication night. Ended up puking in the middle of the night, so that was fun, but I felt good after that. And having fun on vacation, first time in a year, away from work for more than a day at a time.
Wow, and you still did the pod. What? Like, why?
Of course. Because I love this. I have my people. People love to make fun of me on being... And, listening to Ty, that was a blast from the past. It was like before I even knew you. So thanks for helping out there. And
and you got to watch the games. That's pretty wild.
Oh, yeah. There was a rough spot at first. We got in and like TSN 2 and TSN 4 were working, but the other ones weren't. It was just a black screen. So I was kind of rattled, and I went to the place. I was like, I know this is silly at a vacation near a lake, but I was like, I'm not getting TSN 1 or and football. And she's like, oh, the power was just out. It just takes a while sometimes. I was like, okay, cool. And so I just put it on my laptop, and then I think by the end of the first quarter on Thursday, the game was going on there, so we were fine. But yeah.
Nice. The Thursday nighter in Montreal, where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers get a 26-13 lead. Now, of course, it was a 10-point fourth quarter that gave the Bombers that 2-score win there, but Montreal was scrappy. Montreal was hanging around. James Morgan ended up getting the start for Montreal, and he goes 18-33 with 2 picks and a touchdown. So, not the best stats, but I also thought for a first start, it wasn't necessarily that bad either. I mean, for a fourth-string guy being put into this situation, it certainly could have been worse.
Yeah, I think he pretty much did exactly what they asked him. Like, you can tell kind of by the way Jason Moss is talking in interviews and stuff like that, they're obviously just trying to tread water until Davis Alexander gets back, because it doesn't seem like they're changing these quarterbacks, and of course it's because of injuries. Well, at least one. The other one might be just a hurt feelings on the 6th game, but it's they're just doing what they got to do, and yeah, like they kept it really respectful until the beginning of that fourth quarter. And when you're on your fourth quarterback, that's pretty much all you can do when you're playing a team like Winnipeg.
Yeah, what happened here with Winnipeg too, and they've got some stuff to figure out going into Labor Day, and let's say that their opponents have some stuff to figure out going into Labor Day as well, the green team. But the Bombers did get out to a lead, and that first score was to Nick Dembski. He was on my fantasy team, so selfishly I was pretty excited about that. And then selfishly, it sucked to see Nick Dembski go down in the first half. Did look like maybe a head injury. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but the Bombers have run into some pretty rough injury trouble. We'll see if maybe this bit of a long week, basically 9-10 days for Dembski to recover. Hopefully he's back onto the field for Labor Day, but some of the changes that the Bombers had to make throughout this game, like Chris Streveler playing receiver, He's out there throwing blocks. He did make a catch, I think. But I don't know if this is something that they've sort of had in the works or thought about doing. But it was unconventional, to say the very least.
It was. I kind of thought we might see some more trickery with them having to resort to that. But it kind of seemed like, if you're at the point of having your backup quarterback in there as a receiver, then maybe just let's not get cute and let's just try to get out of the game with no more injuries. But yeah, Winnipeg did all they need to do. Montreal still has a tough defense, even though they're missing a few. But again, like I think a lot of people, myself included, expected Winnipeg just to destroy them, and just for Montreal to keep it close. That's all they really could have asked for. But I think if you're a Winnipeg fan, like you still have to be a little bit concerned because I know we're going to talk about the Riders laying one in Calgary, but the Riders handled Montreal pretty decisively in Montreal, and so the fourth quarter made this look kind of a little bit more decisive for the Bombers, but up until then, it certainly wasn't. So definitely have an interesting matchup coming up for them, and yeah, you're right, with the extra days of rest, that could actually be pretty huge here because the Riders weren't unscathed in their game.
Now, Alexander Hollins was the first one to get onto the board for the Montreal Alouettes, and I kind of wonder, is like Alexander Hollins the kryptonite of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Last year, as a member of the BC Lions, Alexander Hollins had a 7-catch, 215-yard game, 2 touchdowns, all the Bellinis that Alexander Hollins can handle, and he had a great game here. For the Alouettes here, and I'll check the stat sheet here, but I think Tyler Sneed hit Alexander Hollins for a 44-yard completion. Sneed looks like he's got a great arm on him, but Hollins had 5 catches, 132 yards in this one. It's nice to see him contributing with his new team in Montreal.
Yeah, it was kind of just everyone was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with him after the shenanigans, I guess we'll say, with his off season. And it's good to see him, finally get on his feet and just, be that premier receiver that he has been the past few seasons. So,
Yeah.
BC and Edmonton's loss is now Montreal's gain.
What blew my mind, and I don't know if you noticed this, was that poor clock management by Winnipeg at the end of the first half. They ran that play with 17 seconds left. They actually called a timeout, and I don't know. I thought they could have gotten at least one more play off to try to take a shot at the end zone. They did win the game anyway, but it looked like a lot of confusion going on there. So there were still some undisciplined moments, which is still a bit surprising for a Mike O'Shea coach team.
Yeah, confusion. Maybe they were just second guessing themselves a little bit too much. Like I know, the game against Montreal or against Ottawa, a lot of people were kind of questioning why Osh would have decided to go for that field goal and then for Pimpleton to run it back. And so, maybe they're just a little gun shy to be as aggressive with their play calling, maybe. So they just really wanted to get that field goal. I don't know, but yeah, it's but again, that's the kind of stuff that makes me kind of wonder. They seem to be riding a little bit higher right now. Riders low, so that just contributes to me making me feel like this manageable and Labor Day Classic matchup is going to be pretty important for both teams.
Yeah, it definitely is. And here's the thing: when the second half started, and certainly the fourth quarter, it just became the Brady Oliveira show. And when Montreal knew it was coming, and they couldn't do anything about it, that is completely deflating for a team. But Brady, 16 carries, 137 yards. So he's getting over 8 yards a carry. He had a touchdown on the ground, and then receiving 9 catches, 73 yards. So 25 touches, over 200 yards for Brady Oliveira. His biggest game of the season. And hey, if they're still going to have injuries, the offense needs to go through him. And it really went through him in Montreal, and it just wears the team down. And clearly, those Alouettes, no matter how good any defense is, if they're going to be playing bully ball like the Bombers are so good at, they can run over teams for the rest of the fall. And maybe we're going to see him go that route as the season goes on. They're going to have quite the tough task in Sask next week. You have to think that they'll be fired up. But Brady, man, when he's slapping the helmet and he's rolling, he's tough to stop.
For sure. He's had a quiet beginning, first half of the season, I think, relatively speaking. Kind of did the same thing last year, but still finished out in one MOP and MOC, right? So he's still the premier running back in this league, and the Bombers, they haven't really had a chance to have a game like this where him just ending it in the second half. And so for Bomber fans, that must be really, really exciting. And you're gonna look to try to do that the next couple of weeks against a tough defense against the run or against the Calgary Stampeders.
Zach did have 87% completion percentage, 27 of 31 for Collaros, a touchdown, no turnovers there. But even, man, the short yardage, you'd think they'd be using Strevler, but he's playing receivers. So Terry Wilson had a 16-yard, short yardage run. And Brady O, the leading receiver there. Carrick Wheatfall had 3 catches for 64 yards. Talked about Alex Hollins. Tyler Sneed had 6 catches, 56 yards, and he's producing. And the running game in Montreal was it's not their MO, but Travis Tice, $2,500 special. I think he had about 7 points on CFL Fantasy, 8 carries, 36 yards, and he also had 2 catches for 13 yards. But this Alouette team, I think they are going to be okay. It's just when you look at the list of starters that are hurt, I know at some point, the football guys will tell you injuries aren't an excuse. Next man up. I at some point, I think injuries are a pretty legitimate problem for the Montreal Alouettes at this point. And if they get healthy down the stretch, I think they'll be okay. Well, Friday night football came from the nation's capital, where the Edmonton Elks beat the Ottawa RedBlacks 30-20. Edmonton's third straight victory. What really is blowing me away here is Ottawa is, they're basically keeping these games pretty close, but they're having terrible starts. It happened against Winnipeg. Winnipeg gets out to a 17-0 lead. Ottawa fights all the way back, ties it up in the fourth quarter, and it happened in this one too. Edmonton probably has their best start to a football game in 15 years, and they're up on Ottawa 17-0, and I'm like, this is crazy. Apparently, I heard the stat. This is Cody Fajardo's the first Elks quarterback to win 3 games in a row since Mike Riley, which it's like 7 years ago.
Wow,
maybe more. But
that's insane.
That wild to me. Now, that's special teams. You give up an 80-yard punt return touchdown to Javon Leake. That's definitely deflating. I would say that maybe a few plays later, Fajardo getting intercepted by Ely, and then Crum putting that into the end zone. So that kind of evens out a little bit there. But man, Ottawa just cannot get off to a good start, and they can't climb out of these holes every week.
No, they can't, and it's a little bit, it's tough when you're going back and forth between your starter and your backup, and your starter and your backup due to injury. But they have the players, they have stars. They have William Stanback, they have Eugene Lewis, they have Justin Hardy. So I know, when you don't necessarily have your starter in there in Brown, but Crum, 23 for 29, that's not a bad, accuracy rate. And so if he's able to put the ball in the hands of those playmakers, I just don't see why they can start so slow, so consistently. It's crazy.
Well, and a shout out to Paul Lapalisse, by the way, who worked the Thursday nighter in Montreal, worked the Friday nighter in Ottawa, and then the early game of the Saturday doubleheader in Toronto. I know, I bet you there are some fans that maybe did the 3 games in the East this week, but he was working the 3 games, and the way he was breaks down the game, I think it's very accessible to the fans, and it's really cool that they have that. But early in this one, it was interesting to see, how Adarius Pickett would be blitzing and Lapo was spelling this out, on TV. And Tanner Green, the fullback, the pride of Lacombe, Alberta, about 10 minutes from where I am right now, had 3 catches for 33 yards. But the fullback getting into open space, where Adarius Pickett is leaving, and Pickett's all over the place still. He's still a great football player, but the Elks and Jordan Maximic and the offense, they had a pretty good plan, and it got off to a good start. And although now I see Edmonton's Labor Day opponent, and I think the Elks would probably be thrilled to come out of that with at least 1 win. But it does look like they're going to be in tough for that. But Ottawa and Dustin Crum, like you said, they still had a lot of fight in them. The third quarter, 8 plays, 93 yards. They're in the end zone, and now they're down by 6 there. So they still fight in there. Gino's making catches, all sorts of things, but it's just not enough. And now they're on bye. I don't know. Like, can you see changes being made in Ottawa? I think we're getting very close to that point.
Well, you would think so, but you'd have to, I would have thought doing it the first bye would have been more important. I don't know what's going to happen the second bye here, but they've won a couple games for Dice, so I don't know if it's time or not, but I guess time will tell. I just don't know. Another loss, and when it seemed like they were able to build a little bit of momentum with those 2 games, they now cannot.
And now, just like when Brady Oliveira got rolling for Winnipeg, Justin Rankin was rolling again for the Edmonton Elks. He had, on the ground, it was a bit of a struggle. 14 carries, 36 yards, and a touchdown, but he had 58 yards receiving on 5 catches. That dual threat just cannot be overestimated. It's so important to this offense. And still, I guess Ottawa's okay at stopping the run. They seem to make it a challenge on teams at times, but Rankin catching those passes too, he's going to make teams pay down the stretch.
For sure, he's turning into an Oliveira type of guy. And certain teams have been able to limit him, but when he's able to get that many targets out of the backfield as well, just in the passing game, it just adds just another dimension to their offense. And once you try to key in on that, then you're gonna leave Curly Giddens or Dunbar or somebody else wide open.
Scary moment in the second half. RedBlacks player Daniel Okpoko. It looked kind of. Well, he got up. He makes the tackle and he gets up and then goes down and he leaves the field on a stretcher. And it turned out that he was conscious. He was moving his extremities. I'm seeing today that he did get released from hospital. So that's definitely good to see. Don't know when he's going to be able to be back on a football field, but those moments just, tough to see. It's a dangerous game, and these guys are putting it on the line every single play.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to see that he is doing better, and like you said, I thought it was just it was weird that he was down after he got up, but we kind of saw that with DeMar Hamlin in the NFL when he got that cardiac arrest or whatever it was on the field, and he got up and then went down. So I think there's a lot of people who were scared, thinking that was the kind of situation we were in, and just really happy to see that released, and hopefully he's able to get back on the field as soon as he's able to.
The leading rusher for the Ottawa RedBlacks was quarterback Dustin Crum. 10 carries, 59 yards there. Standback had 48 yards rushing, 37 receiving. And the leading receiver was the rookie, Keelan White. 5 catches, 68 yards for Keelan White on the day for the RedBlacks. And the Elks returned back to Alberta with a victory, which you look at the standings, they just dug themselves such a deep hole. They are 4-6. So really, I think to get back into a Western playoff hunt, they need to sweep Calgary,
for sure.
Which Calgary is undefeated inside the West. All of their wins in the West have come against Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, the Stampeders. Edmonton has not beat a Western team. So, yeah, I think they'll be happy to escape with a split with the Stampeders. But the RedBlacks last in the East, 3-8. And now, yeah, they're on bye. It's kind of sad. We got the triple bye going on for Labor Day weekend. Montreal, Ottawa, and BC are all off. But, yeah, we'll see what what the drawing board brings back for the Ottawa RedBlacks after the bye. So Saturday started at BMO Field, the C&E game for the Toronto Argonauts, where they had their biggest crowd since 2018, 18,354, biggest regular season crowd since then. And they put on a show for the fans in attendance too. 52-34. The Argos beat the Lions. It's 14-3 Leos after the first quarter. But Nick Arbuckle, man, and that Argos offense, without DeMonte Coxey, they were completely unstoppable. Over 540 yards of total offense from the Argos on the Lions. That's a tough day at the office for the orange and black team. But hey, Arbuckle has been great and he's been solid all season. This is just another example of that.
And it's, first of all, if the Lions could have just scored a little bit more points early in the game, I would have got an auto cash on my bet and I would have won $80. Anywho, I'm a degenerate gambler now.
You are. Like that transition happened very quickly.
I'm still playing on house money though, so it's not like I'm mortgaging my house or anything. I'm still playing off my initial $10 deposit that I won.
How?
But
I don't get that whole auto cash thing. How much of a lead do they need for that?
17 points. So
really?
When they were up 14-3, if they would have got another touchdown, it would have been set. So my bet was 2 James Butler touchdowns, the over, and BC winning. I got 2 James Butler touchdowns. I got the over.
Oh, and BC lost.
But BC lost. But if they would have, even if they would have
right.
lost after, because they had the 17-point lead, look at me sounding like I know things. I would have nestled a nice little $80 there. But
so if you would have bet $100 on Edmonton or whatever, and they get up 17-0, 10 minutes into the game, you win your bet?
Yeah.
Wow.
Even if they lose. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's weird. It's crazy. But I guess
do
it's just
think that's crazy.
that teams don't come back. But but what I was going to say initially is, we have, when you look at everyone's power rankings or my power, Toronto's they're in the lower third of the power rankings, and BC kind of in the middle third and most. And BC still being able to score 34 points is if you score 34 points, you should be able to win the game in the CFL. But it's just their defense was playing so atrocious, and you talk about a team on a bye week that maybe needs a change. It might be Mike Benavides in BC, because they have the offensive power to win games. It's clear when they're scoring this many points, but they just, for whatever it is, their defense has just let them just Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal how their defense is playing, and I feel for Lions fans.
Man, I'm looking at the beginning of the game here. Toronto goes field goal, punt, field goal, touchdown, 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 punt, touchdown, touchdown, punt, field goal. Like, absolute dominance from the Argo offense. And, the Argo offense has not been their problem this year. It just hasn't been. And Nick Arbuckle was out there, threw for 430 yards, 26 of 33. And they actually had the running game going later in the game as well. Deontay McMahon ends up getting hurt, 3 carries, 7 yards before leaving the game. And then Spencer Brown, who the Argos acquired in a trade with Edmonton, has 19 carries, 85 yards. He ended up adding 34 yards receiving as well. But it's hurdling Jake Herslow, Sheldon. He didn't hurdle in this one, but 5 catches, 149 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like, that was wild. Like, there was a moment in the fourth quarter where BC scores, and they're down 42-33. So it is still 2 scores. Toronto gets the ball back, and it's a 70-yard touchdown to Herslow, and the Argos are back up, 16. Like, just wind out of the sails and blown coverages all over the place. And it was just really, like, in 3 quarters, they scored 49 points.
Yeah.
Against this Lions team.
They had nothing. They couldn't. I don't know if they're confused. I don't know if they just don't have the dogs. I don't know if it's just, Mike Benavides can't seem to make any adjustments. Like, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, BC can't stop any teams right now. And, they're kind of clinging on to that crossover spot, kind of. But with Edmonton coming aboard, like winning 3 in a row, and, if they can steal one from Calgary, if BC continues to lose a couple more games, then Edmonton could easily get into that crossover spot. And, for how BC started and all the hype about Nathan Rourke and all these, like, their receiver room is out of this world. Like, again, the problem isn't on offense. Butler's doing everything he can.
They have the leading receiver and the leading rusher in the CFL.
But when you have the worst defense, offense wins games, defense wins championships, and defense isn't going to win this BC Lions a championship this year.
There was an interesting moment. I don't know what you thought about this. BC gets the ball at their own 31-yard line with about 30 seconds to go at the end of the first half, and they're down by 7, and they didn't bother trying to go for a field goal or anything. They just kneeled it out, and I don't know how I felt about that.
I hate that. I hate when teams do that.
Yeah, you're starting to get that Manitoba internet starting to cut out there, but let's see if we can get you rolling again. Really interesting moment, too. They were so desperate to just kill the clock. Toronto takes a too many men penalty. Well, BC's going to kneel it down. And BC declined it just to let the clock run out, and instead of trying to, get into field goal range. I thought that was an interesting moment at the end of the first half.
Yeah, I don't like when teams just let time go unnecessarily. Like, it's the CFL, and we see that everything can happen, and you're losing. Like, you should be trying your best to get any sort of points you can. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
And there were still some things that Toronto needs to clean up. I don't know what it is. We're seeing, and they mentioned it on the broadcast too, we're getting a rise in the no-end penalties. So I don't know. Toronto took a couple of them. I don't know if they are trying to skirt the rules, or if the league's cracking down, or what's really going on there. But there's definitely been a rise in that happening this season.
Yeah, and more often than not, it's actually when there's been a good play too that negates that play. So it's strange. I don't know if they're just if the refs are looking that much more, or if players are forgetting to report, or just I don't know what it is. But yeah, you're right. It's become a lot more prevalent, and disrupts the game flow, to be honest.
BC had one of the wildest catches in the first half. It looked like it was maybe going to be intercepted. Gets tipped in the air, and I guess the tip drill also counts for the offense as well, where Aiden Eberhardt dives and makes this crazy catch. Like, that Lions offense was moving, and then the second quarter, things just fell apart, including Benji Franklin reading Rourke like a book, taking a pick six to the house, and then that's when things started shifting in Toronto's direction, and maybe that's why BC, they just wanted to get out of here. Like, we threw a pick six, while Katoy ended up getting a touch, and Javon Katoy, by the way that he tightrope the sideline, for that big guy to do that was very impressive too. And then Kevin Mattel gets that 15-yard touchdown, and then I guess the Lions were like, let's get out of here. This is BS. I just want to go to the room, or I want to go get some mini donuts at the C&E, and maybe that's why the Lions defense looked like that. But Kevin Mattel, 7 catches, 63 yards for the Argos. Dejon Brissett, 4 catches, 118 yards. And then Keon Hatcher, 131 yards on the other side. For the Lions, James Butler, 11 carries, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, but they didn't get him going in the receiving game. But yeah, Javon Katoy, 2 TDs, another great game from him. But that brings the BC Lions to 5-6. And I do believe they have the season series already with Edmonton, so that's pretty critical. But this... And they still remain above Toronto in the standings when it comes to the crossover. But this was a critical darn game for both teams. And to have the defense perform like BC's defense did, that's a rough showing. I know you're on the road, and I know the Argos they're fired up, but that was a rough showing from them. And hey, good for the Argos and Dinwiddie for getting his team rolling.
Yeah, it is a shame for the Lions and their fans, but I'm extremely happy to see them the Argos put forth this effort in front of all those extra fans who maybe just bought a ticket because they're going to CNE and they wanted to see 5440 or whatever it is, whatever got them to that BMO Stadium that day, whether they were an Argo fan or not. Hopefully, seeing a game like this where your offense is just putting points on the board nonstop. Hopefully they had fun, excited, and we can see a little bit of a spike in continuing to get some more Argo fans out to the park.
Well, and get this, Sheldon, with the Argos win, Ryan Dinwiddie moves to 4th all time in Toronto Argonauts head coach victories, tied with the Don
already. Wow,
which is crazy to me. I know Matthews, he kind of moved around the league.
Yeah.
But Ryan Dinwiddie, 49-30 in regular season play, 5-2 in the playoffs, 2 Grey Cups. Don Matthews, 49-31, 5-2 in the postseason, 2 Grey Cups with the Argos. Pretty much identical records.
And Ryan Dinwiddie's been acting like him, especially in the media a little bit lately. So hey, he's in good company.
And they said on the broadcast, I think Wynn McManus said that he respected that Dinwiddie. He told the players what he told the media. He told the players first, which I guess he's not sugarcoating what's going on.
Hey, and we question that he may be losing the room. So if McManus is after saying that, then that's actually a really, really good sign for the Argos.
Yeah. And hey, like I said, still disciplined to clean up, the no-end penalties, the roughing the passers they took. And you'd think BC would be able to capitalize on that kind of stuff. But I think they also took a misconduct that gave Toronto a first down as well. But that kind of stuff is going on. And Toronto gets the big convincing victory at the end of the day. And I would say the Calgary Stampeders had a pretty convincing victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders as well. 32-15 the final. Outside of about a 5-minute stretch in the second quarter, Saskatchewan was completely dominated in this one. Shutout in the second half. And it started with a missed field goal for Brett Lothar. And this I feel like he's not getting the Labor Day start. 28 yards out and you miss the field goal.
Yeah, and they showed on the broadcast that he hit the laces. Whatever. Like if you can't kick a 28-yard field goal with the laces, like, yeah. Let's get my degenerateness out of the way on this one too, because this was an interesting game for me as well.
Was it?
Even before that missed field goal, we had Keyshawn Dropson.
That was the same job. That was the same drive. Yeah.
Drop a touchdown. So my touchdown scorer was Keyshawn. I needed him to score a touchdown, and I needed the Riders to score first. So they did it. They got the point, whatever. Yeah. And I just needed them to win. So I would have loved
if you would have won your bet on the missed field goal rouge, the play that you hate. I would have loved that.
It would have been ironic. I would have had to donate that money to some sort of charity or something. But like, again, Lawler's a great guy, great for the community, great leader on the team, and I know the team. I thought they supported him, but from people there, I saw lots of reports on Twitter that after that field goal, just the bench was just demoralized, and like for the rest of the game, there was nobody trying to fire them up, nobody doing anything. So I know you were there. I don't know how close you were to the bench to see that stuff, but
I was on the opposite side of the field. Right after he missed the field goal, he jogged basically opposite from the rest of the team, was all by himself. Right after that missed kick.
And it's mental. Like it's mental at this point. Like and you would think that the Riders signing Campbell Fair would have, been what he needed to get him over the hump and be like, okay, shoot, there's another guy here. I might lose my job, but like going after his radio, like, and he's always met the radio. I haven't listened to any of the post game stuff yet, so I don't know if he did this game or not too, but he seems to take responsibility for his issues. He doesn't blame anyone. He doesn't blame the holder, nothing. But you would think that if the team thought that the issue was holding, that they would address it before they address replacing their kicker, who's their PA rep and a team captain, right? You would think that they would try to figure out if the problem is not him before signing another kicker. So I think they've realized that, and it's sad, but yeah, there's no way Brett Lowther should be playing on Labor Day. He goes on the injury list because he's past vet cutdown day, so you're not going to cut him. But you need to at least sit him for a game, and because Campbell Fair might crap the bed too. We don't know, but until that actually happens and you actually give him a chance and you let Brett sit, we're not going to know. So that's what needs to happen, unfortunately.
I didn't gloss it over. There was that, I thought it was a pretty silly pass interference that Calgary ended up getting called on them on that first drive, and Sask couldn't obviously take advantage of it. It was a missed field goal there, but Dave did challenge it. I could tell he was fired up many times on the sideline. This is a game that Mr. Dickinson wanted to get from the Stampeders, and Bart ends up sending in an email here, and he used to be an official. He did say that he was disappointed with the officiating in this game, actually. He did talk about, that ticky-tack pass interference as well. But on the first play, he says Calgary took a misconduct penalty because Keelan Thomas sort of punched the Sask player in the face. He says, I get it. But later in the game, right in front of the ref standing 2 feet away, and Sask punches a Calgary player in the head. No flag thrown. And then, what else did he mention here? Oh, when the head linesman, I don't know if you saw this, called Calgary for a face mask, it ends up getting overturned by the replay center. And that flag was thrown when the players were facing away from the ref. He says, as a ref, the rule is if you do not directly see it, you don't make assumptions. If you don't see it, don't call it. And he did say, to be fair, on the other side, there were a couple of holds that sprung Dedrick Mills that were missed that would have benefited Saskatchewan. But yeah, saying, hey, reffing's a hard job, but with misconducts, if a player throws a punch, you have to call it every time. Otherwise, what's the point? And then he also puts in a note about the crowd. And this has to be the biggest McMahon Stadium crowd. Okay, so I have to address it because I've been approached several times now. I know it's McMahon Stadium. I'm really sorry for causing chaos on Reddit and all sorts of things. But we're calling it Mac Mahon for 2-and-out purposes, all right?
Yep, that is the official new name for Mac Mahon Stadium, as decreed by the 2-and-out boys.
28,295 in Calgary. There was a great contingent of green and white fans, but either way, to have that many in the stands for a beautiful day. And I was on the west side. I was in the shade, which I needed after that tailgate. And the seats where I was, right above the legendary Tater Tavern, got myself the Spudinator. I think I got every topping except for gravy and green onions. that is, for my money.
You just got everything.
Yeah, I should have just got everything. For my money, the best product you can get at a CFL stadium, a giant baked potato, about 1.5 pounds of food for $12. That's a pretty good value at Mac Mahon Stadium. And I do need to give a shout out to Paige, who is from Calgary, university student there, big Rider fan, big 2-and-out fan. So we're breaking in with the university crowd. I didn't think we had that in us, Sheldon.
No, that's what this U2 generation is all about. So thank you.
And definitely not
weird
me.
Having people in university listen to us.
Yeah. Well, I felt like one of them prior to the game, but not the next day. Did you know that they call the casino the Nino?
No, the Nino.
Or is that just yes? That's what I learned.
We're going to the Nino tonight?
Yes. Yeah, that's maybe it's a Calgary thing
for me. I think. That's yeah, I don't. I would say just the casino, but I'm both too old and not old enough to be going to the casino right now. So
yeah, you know what? That's right. We're in that middle age where we don't go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I used to go for the breakfast at the Casino Regina. It used to be really good, but super expensive. But haven't been there since COVID. But I've been to a couple shows at the Show Lounge. But yeah, when I just out of high school, we would go for the penny horse game, and you could take in $5-10 and have hours of fun. So that was, but no, I would never even consider, even with gambling on sports now, I would never just be like, hey, I'm gonna go to the Nino tonight. I don't mean to mock, that's just not, it's not. No, I'm glad that you are having fun there, Paige, and yeah, thanks for listening.
So I feel like I'm trying to avoid talking about this game.
I was just to say, the Riders the bed.
And there we go.
They this is the second time where the Riders have had a chance to show that they're the best team in the game, in the league. And, we can blame whatever we want, the last game, the smoke delay, all of that stuff, the playing it another day. There was a lot of extenuating circumstances that last game, but this game, they had Calgary coming off the bye, which usually Dave Dickinson is really good off a bye. So Calgary had that working for them, but it's just like Calgary they wanted, it's like they were the ones who had the chip on their shoulder. They were the ones who wanted to be the best team in the league, and the Riders didn't. They're the best team in the league when they're playing anybody but Calgary, which is usually my motto, so that's kind of funny. But at the same time, I think this is actually good for the Riders. They needed a little bit of adversity, I think, and you would think that having Brett Lowther miss all these kicks is enough adversity, but they never really had a game count. Like it never cost them a game. But now, they have that. They need to have that chip on their shoulder, being like, hey, if we want to make it to the Grey Cup, this is a team we're going to have to play again. And it may be in Regina, and it may be in McMahon Stadium now, because Calgary has the tiebreaker, and they're only a game back now. And they have two, I would say, more winnable games in the horizon at Labor Day than the Riders do. So, this game was huge for both teams, and one team seemed to actually give a crap about it.
So Dedrick Mills gets that touchdown to put the Stamps up, and then Trevor Harris actually gets picked off. And the very next play, Roland Milligan with an interception. Yeah. So that was quite the sequence. The Riders, they end up getting the punt single there. That was so close to going out at the one, which would have been clutch by Rider punter Joe Couch. Not quite there yet. And then the Stamps offense got moving. Jalen Philpott had some big plays in this one. Had an 8-yard touchdown to put the Stamps up 14-2. And then the Riders, they woke up in the second quarter a bit. Dante Myers gets that touchdown to make it 14-9. And then Harris hits Duncan Busby to put the Riders up 15-14 at halftime. And that was the end of it. That was the end of it. The Stamps come out of halftime, 5 plays, 72 yards. Baldwin getting the touchdown that put the Stamps up, and they never once looked back. Even though Jameer Thurman had that interception, that was a critical moment that the Riders should have capitalized on, and nothing after that, because Harris ended up getting picked off by Onyeka a couple plays later, and the Stamps end up making it 24-15 after that interception, getting the field goal there. And how did you feel, though? Now, Brooks gets the touchdown at the beginning of the fourth quarter. That puts the Stamps up 32-15. That was the end of the scoring in this one. How did you feel about the Riders taking out Trevor Harris with about 5 minutes left in the game? By the way, the Stamps getting that 2-point conversion to put them up by 3 scores, that was a very good call by Dickinson and company. But taking Harris out with about 5 minutes to go, I definitely thought that was a curious decision.
Well, I thought it was curious, but like the series before, and not he did play one more series after it, but he got rocked. And like the guy landed on him with his weight. Like I don't really want it in the passer, but like, I've seen worse hits called, but it doesn't matter. And I think Mace just didn't want Trevor getting hit because Calgary was coming at them unless they were blitzing. And actually, no, they weren't even doing it. The O-line had a terrible game, I would say. AJ Ouellette was able to get some yardage, in that little window when they were actually performing, but it was not Trevor Harris's best day. It was not the offensive line's day, and the defense, 32 points. It kind of felt like this should have been like in the 50 Toronto game.
It was 4 sacks for the Calgary Stampeder defense. Justin Sambu on the D-line. Looked like linebacker Sean Peterson.
The same team beats us 3 times. I don't know.
And Clarence Hicks had 2 sacks for the Stamps in this one. Actually, no sacks for the Riders. The pressure was very inconsistent and a lot of times non-existent for that Rider D-line on the Stamps, which was kind of surprising. We had seen them absolutely dominate O-lines in the past few weeks, including Hamilton, including Edmonton, but Calgary stood tall. They won the battle in the trenches, and they won every single other battle all over the field. The leading receiver for the Stampeders was Dalen Baldwin. 3 catches, 84 yards, the touchdown there. Jalen Philpott had 51 yards and a touchdown. And Dedrick Mills, 16 carries, 78 yards, a touchdown on the ground. AJ Ouellette had 15 carries for 65 yards in this one. Keyshawn Johnson, the leading receiver for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 4 catches, 112 yards for him. So there we go. Back to the drawing board for the Roughriders. Both quarterbacks threw 2 interceptions, although Vernon Adams Jr. had 3 touchdowns to his credit. In this one, made the plays he needed to make, had a timely run when he needed to use his legs to get a first down there. I think it was 8 yards. He had the first down run there, and that's a big win for the red and white Calgary Stampeders, who are, like I said earlier in the show, 5-0 against the West, which is massive, obviously. They're 7-3. They got the season series with the Riders, so a Western final in Calgary is definitely still on the horizon. The Stamps move ahead. They're ready for a back-to-back with Edmonton, and then Saskatchewan getting ready for that back-to-back with Winnipeg. So this stretch of the season, absolutely critical. Now, there's been so much talk about CFL attendance this season, and not in a good way. But this week, we had the biggest regular season crowd in Toronto in 7 years. We had over 28,000 in Calgary. We've got sellouts in Winnipeg, 2 straight sellouts in Hamilton, 2 straight sellouts in Regina. So, the next time somebody tells you that the CFL is dying, remember about these sellouts going on. Remember that there were over 800,000 people watching Montreal and Edmonton on TSN last Friday night. There are a lot of good things happening in the CFL right now as well. It does look like the Wi-Fi in Manitoba at the cabin has gotten the best of Mr. Sheldon Jones. So I'm disconnected with him right now. We will wrap up 2 and Out. It's good to have him join us from the lake. I hope he enjoys the rest of his vacation. He's going to be back in Regina, and this week, getting you ready and me ready as well for my money, the best week in the Canadian Football League, and that is Labor Day weekend. I'm so jacked up because after that, the games mean more and more every single week. You can rate, review, and subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. You can check us out on YouTube, subscribe there, leave a comment there, and we will talk to you very soon on 2 and Out. You can sign up on Patreon as well and support the show at 2andout.ca. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon on 2 and Out.
The 2 and Out CFL podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Travis Currah and co-hosted by Sheldon Jones. Subscribe to 2 and Out on all major podcast platforms and YouTube to keep up to date with future shows.